It was a Sunday in early spring, the kind of day you dream of all winter. Blue skies, trees just beginning to bloom, the smell of fresh-cut grass. I stood across the parking lot of a rustic winery in Charlottesville, Virginia. I held a gift bag with a soft blue blanket inside, hand-stitched with his initials, AJ, for Andrew James, my first grandson. It was my son's baby shower. I hadn't been invited, but I had heard about it from my neighbor's daughter who follows Kayla, my daughter-in-law, on Instagram. That's how I found out. I wasn't angry, not yet. I thought maybe it was a mistake, maybe an oversight. Maybe my son, Brandon, just forgot to send the invitation. But when I walked in, just 5 steps past the arch of white balloons and eucalyptus garlands, I saw everything I needed to. Brandon was laughing with Kayla's parents, holding her hand, beaming. Her mother, Jill, stood up to make a toast. To my daughter and to the woman who raised this wonderful man, Jill, thank you for giving us Brandon. Everyone clapped, and Brandon smiled, raised his glass, kissed her cheek. My son thanked another woman, a woman who didn't know how many nights I rocked him through a fever, who never worked 2 jobs to pay his college deposit. He saw me standing there. He looked me straight in the eye, and then he looked away. No shock, no guilt, no shame, just indifference. I left before they could ask me to. I never gave him the blanket. That was the moment I realized I raised a child who forgot I was a person too. If you've ever been broken by the ones you gave birth to, you're not alone. Subscribe. We tell the stories no mother dares to speak out loud. I sat in my car in the winery parking lot for nearly an hour, holding that blanket in my lap like it could undo something. Like maybe if I pressed it against my chest hard enough, I'd remember who I used to be before I became his mother. Brandon was my firstborn. I had him when I was 23, just old enough to know what responsibility meant, but still too young to understand how completely motherhood would erase everything I had once imagined for myself. I dropped out of nursing school halfway through my 2nd trimester. His father, Rick, promised he'd support us, but he left when Brandon was 3, said he wasn't built for all the pressure. So I worked, first at the grocery store, then at a dentist's office filing insurance forms in the back room. I packed lunches at 5 a.m., skipped dinners so he could eat the last serving, sewed Halloween costumes by hand even when I could barely keep my eyes open. I gave up vacations. I gave up sleep. I gave up my 20s. And not once did I complain. Not once. Because I was in love. Stupid, full-hearted love with that boy. He used to draw me pictures at school and write in crooked crayon letters, "Mommy is magic." I still have one of those drawings taped inside my kitchen cabinet. It's faded now, sun-worn, but I see it every time I reach for a mug. I remember his first fever, the panic in my chest when I couldn't get it to break. I rocked him in the bathroom with the shower running, steam rising around us, whispering, "Mommy's here. I've got you. I've got you." And I did. I always had him. When the school called because he punched a boy for teasing him about not having a dad, I didn't scold him. I bought him ice cream and told him, "You're not less than. You're more." When he cried over college applications thinking he wasn't good enough, I stayed up late editing his essays. When he got into that out-of-state school, I sold my grandmother's antique ring to help with the deposit. He never knew. I never told him. Because that's what mothers do, right? We carry them before they're born. And somehow, we never stop carrying them after. I remember his voice on the phone the day he met Kayla. "She's amazing, Mom. You'll love her." And I did. I wanted to. The first time we met, I brought her a little welcome basket with candles and towelware and a handwritten note. And then things began to change. She said I was too involved, that I gave unsolicited opinions, that I made Brandon second-guess himself. But I never judged her. I kept my mouth shut even when she mocked my old kitchen or laughed at the way I wrapped gifts. I wanted peace. I wanted to be included, even if it meant swallowing my pride like gravel. Because I hoped that one day I'd get to hold their baby. That maybe when the child came, they'd remember who I was. The woman who had once breathed life into theirs. I gave them all my good years, all my strong bones, all my quiet prayers. I asked for nothing but a little kindness in return. But the kindness began to vanish, not all at once, slowly. So slowly I almost missed it. It started with Brandon answering my calls less, then texting instead of calling, then just replying with a thumbs up. I remember the first time I heard it in his voice, that edge. I asked how he was doing, and he sighed. "Mom, I don't have time to talk right now." No, "I love you." No, "I'll call back." Just silence. Then Kayla's name started coming up more. Not as someone he loved, but as a filter through which I had to be approved. She doesn't like when I talk to you about personal stuff. She thinks it's weird how close we are. She says you're a little much sometimes. A little much? I gave birth to him after 18 hours of back labor with no epidural. I held him through his asthma attacks. I taught him to tie a tie the night before his first job interview. But now, I was a little much? The holidays changed. They stopped coming home for Thanksgiving. Or if they did, it was just for an hour, long enough to take a few pictures and leave with plates I had packed in foil. And then came the ultimate downgrade. From Mom to Ma, then Ma to nothing. Just, hey. Just can't talk. Just empty air. I used to know everything about him. His dreams, his favorite movies, the sound he made when he laughed too hard. And now, I was learning things about my own son from strangers' social media posts. People would say to me, "Oh, I saw Brandon and Kayla went to Italy." And I'd smile and say, "Yes, I saw the pictures too." But inside, I'd be screaming, "Why didn't he tell me?" I once held this boy's hand every day across the street. Now, I didn't even know what street he lived on. I wasn't losing him. I had already lost him. But I didn't want to admit it. Not yet. So I held on, even as the rope burned through my hands. Until one day, I realized he had let go a long time ago. It happened on a quiet Tuesday morning. I had just finished folding towels when my phone lit up. A message from Brandon. My heart skipped because these days, even a one-word reply felt like a miracle. But it wasn't a reply. It was a paragraph. Cold. Clean. Final. Kayla and I have decided to take a step back from certain relationships that we feel are emotionally unhealthy. We need space. Please respect our boundaries and don't contact us right now. Emotionally unhealthy? I stared at the screen so long it dimmed, then locked, then lit back up. I unlocked it, read it again, and again. I thought maybe if I read it enough times, the words would soften. Maybe emotionally unhealthy would turn into misunderstood. Maybe don't contact us would turn into give us a week. But it didn't. It was signed Brandon and Kayla. Not just from him, as if he had been coached, as if I wasn't worth a direct word. I didn't cry at first. I just sat there, still. Then I laughed. One of those brittle, empty laughs that sounds more like choking. Then the tears came so fast, I couldn't catch my breath. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a screaming match. It was the absence of everything. Like someone pulling a plug and draining 30 years of motherhood into silence. I wrote back just 2 words. I understand. But I didn't. Not then. Not now. Not even as I say this out loud. I raised him. I prayed for him. I protected him from the worst parts of this world. And somehow, I became one of those parts. Days later, I found out they had thrown a birthday party for Kayla. Big gathering, friends, family, her parents, her cousins, everyone but me. Someone tagged Brandon in a photo. There he was, smiling, a balloon in his hand. And the caption read, "So grateful for family." That broke me. Not because I wasn't invited, but because he didn't even think to lie about it. That was the moment I knew. I hadn't just been left out. I had been erased. It's a strange kind of loneliness, the kind that wears your name, sleeps in your memories, and still smells like baby lotion and peanut butter sandwiches. People don't understand it. They think empty nests are peaceful, but mine echoes. It echoes with birthdays no one calls for, with Mother's Days that feel like personal punishments, with pictures on the fridge of a boy who no longer exists in my world, except in pixels and ache. I sit at family gatherings now, the few I still attend, and people ask about Brandon. I smile, say, "He's doing well, busy with work." I don't say, "He hasn't spoken to me in 8 months. He blocked my number the week after Christmas. I sent a gift for the baby. It was returned." Even my friends don't know what to say anymore. They try. "He'll come around. Kids need space. You were always a good mom. He knows that deep down." But what if he doesn't? What if the only version of me he remembers is the one Kayla described? Too needy? Too involved? Too old-fashioned? Some nights, I still go through the box I made for him when he was 5. It's filled with report cards, art projects, a little handprint in red paint, a letter he wrote after I nursed him through the flu. "Thank you for making me better, Mommy. I love you more than the moon." I used to read that and feel proud. Now I read it and feel haunted. Because the boy who wrote those words grew into a man who won't return a text. I've replayed everything. The lullabies, the soccer games, the late-night talks in the kitchen over cereal. I've asked myself 1,000 times, was I too soft? Too strict? Too much of something? Not enough of something else? Was I not enough to stay in the family I built with my bare hands? Sometimes I wonder what I did wrong. Other times, I wonder what I did so right that he thought I'd never break, that I'd always be here, waiting, silent, willing. But I'm not her anymore. Something inside me, something strong and quiet, has started to shift. I didn't recognize it at first. It wasn't rage. It wasn't bitterness. It was release. Not loud, not theatrical, just still. Like a woman finally setting down a bag she's been carrying for 30 years. The last straw came on a Wednesday. I was cleaning out the junk drawer in the kitchen when I found a card, the kind that plays music when you open it. It was from Brandon. His handwriting was still neat back then, careful, like he wanted each word to matter. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. You're the strongest woman I know. I love you more than words. The card still played a little tune, a lullaby version of You Are My Sunshine. And right there, with the card in one hand and a broken pen in the other, my phone lit up with a notification. Kayla had posted a story. It was a boomerang, her clinking glasses with her mother. Captioned, 3 generations of strong women, so blessed. There was a high chair in the corner of the frame, a little baby hand waving. That was my grandson. 3 generations, and not a trace of me, not even a shadow. That was the moment I stopped lying to myself. Stopped telling people we were going through a rough patch. Stopped checking my phone like salvation might arrive through a ringtone. That was the moment I stopped begging to be included in a life that didn't want me in it. I turned the card's music off, placed it in the trash, not out of hate, out of mercy, because even a memory, if held too tightly, can become a wound. So I let it go. Not all at once, not with some dramatic declaration, just piece by piece. The first thing I did was stop staring at my phone. I turned off notifications, moved Brandon's contact to a hidden folder, and I told myself, if he wants to find me, he knows where I live. He knows my voice. I stopped looking for messages that weren't coming, stopped refreshing pages I wasn't invited to be part of. Instead, I started writing again. Not letters to him, letters to myself. Little notes taped to my bathroom mirror. You are not broken. You were a good mother. You still have breath. That means you still have purpose. I joined a small support group at the library. Women like me. Women with kind eyes and quiet pain. Women who'd given everything and were now learning to take some of it back. We drank coffee. We shared stories. Sometimes we cried. Sometimes we laughed so hard the librarian had to hush us. It was the first time I didn't feel crazy, or alone, or invisible. I started walking every morning. Just a few blocks, then a few more, breathing in the air like it owed me something, letting the sun touch my face without asking for permission. I planted flowers on my porch, petunias and snapdragons. Kayla always said they were dated. I think they're resilient. I lit candles before bed, read novels I never had time for when I was raising a family.
I even rewatched the movies Brandon and I used to love, the ones we quoted endlessly. And yes, I cried. But the tears didn't drown me. They washed something clean. A neighbor, Karen, a retired teacher, invited me over for soup one night. We talked for hours. Not about our children, not about pain, just about books, music, recipes, life. And in her laughter, I remembered, I am more than someone's mother. I am someone. Brandon still doesn't call, but I don't check anymore, not like I used to. I love him. I always will. But I'm no longer holding my breath waiting to be loved back.
I'm still their mother, but I'm no longer their prisoner. And if you're listening to this, holding your own heartbreak together with silence and prayer, I want to tell you what I wish someone had told me. You can love your child and still walk away from the version of them that wounds you. You can protect your peace without abandoning your love. There is no award for mothers who bleed quietly while waiting for an apology that may never come. You don't have to keep proving that you were a good mom, especially to people who've already decided they don't care to remember. They may never come back. They may never thank you. They may rewrite the story to fit their version of things. Love them anyway, but do it from a distance that doesn't destroy you. Because motherhood isn't martyrdom, and your worth was never measured in how well you tolerated their disrespect. Some days, I still wonder if Brandon will call, but I no longer stake my identity on that ring. I no longer need it to believe I mattered. I look in the mirror now and I don't just see a mother. I see a woman who survived her own disappearance. A woman who still has warmth to give, just not to those who leave her out in the cold. So if you're a mother listening to this and you've been erased, blamed, pushed aside, hear me. You did not fail. You just raised someone who couldn't see the woman behind the mother. And that is not your shame to carry. So to every mother sitting in the quiet tonight, in a kitchen that used to be loud, in a house full of pictures, but empty of voices, to the woman who still sets an extra place at the table, just in case, to the one who checks her phone even though she swore she wouldn't anymore, I see you. I know what it costs to keep loving someone who's forgotten your softness. I know the ache of remembering every birthday, every scar, every whispered prayer over a sleeping child, while they remember none of it. You are not crazy. You are not forgotten. You are not weak. You were a lighthouse, burning through storms they never even saw. And even if they never say sorry, even if they never come back, you still deserve peace. You still deserve joy and love and mornings where the silence feels like rest, not punishment. Because you didn't do everything right, but you showed up and you stayed and you loved in a way they may never be capable of understanding. So tonight, if this story is yours too, if your heart cracked in the same place as mine did, type 4 words in the comments below. Still their mother, always. For every woman who loved more than they could return, you are not alone, and you never were.